Welcome to another episode of Transcending the Rabbit Hole. I'm Brandy Anderson, and I'm joined by my very good friends and co-hosts, Annelise and Parker Bess. Today, we're talking about silence as it relates to frequency and sound, because silence is not absence. It is the field in which everything arises. Before sound, there is vibration. Before vibration, there is stillness. Silence is the ground of being that is inseparable from the sound of creation. Annelise and Parker, it's a privilege to transcend this rabbit hole with you guys.
Hey, Brandy. So good to be here.
Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
good to be here.
Yeah, I've had that song, The Sound of Silence, just running through my head as I've prepared for this episode today.
I love that
Me
song.
too.
I
I do
love
too. Well, one thought that's been circling my awareness as I was gathering my thoughts for this episode is the idea that silence is not absence. It's the field in which everything arises. And I was recently thinking about the logos in the beginning that John names, how he
Yeah.
says in the beginning was the logos. And unfortunately, that word gets translated into English as word, which really just flattens out the meaning. And when we read in the beginning was the word, it feels like a spoken command issued from like an external God. But logos is the creative expression underlying all of reality. So it's not a command, but a pattern of existence permeating all of reality. So when we think about Jesus as the logos of God, in this understanding, we can see it's about orientation and alignment, like with the flow of reality itself, which is to say alignment with source. And in physics, which tying this in also in physics, the empty space is not empty at all. Like it's full of potential. It's full of potential energy. And in mysticism, silence is the womb of creation, like the Tao that cannot be spoken. It's that still small voice in English, which is just rendered still small voice, but in the original Hebrew is more accurately understood to be saying silence. So again, English biblical translations really lose the deep meaning of the text. Silence is what is being communicated where it says still small voice. And we typically think of silence as nothing, but in mysticism and also physics, they both keep circling the same idea that silence is not a void. It's pregnant with potential, and it's, I guess you could say, like a structured depth. And I think that's why silence as a spiritual practice is so important. Like when we silence ourselves, we become conduits of that field of potentiality, which is what I would call the quantum field. Or the source field. Some would just say God, I guess. No matter what you call it, though, it's pointing to the same reality. So, yeah, I'm interested to hear what you guys think about that.
Well, my goodness, you've just summed it all up. That's everything I would have thought to express as well. I think we all come from the void. I think
Yeah.
that's where, like you said, where life began. And that verse in the beginning was the word has been
Mm,
sticking out to me as well,
yeah.
preparing for this. And yeah, the void is like baseline reality. And like you said, before vibration expresses itself, there's stillness, and every tradition points to that. And in Christianity, they called it the word, but I take it as the the vibration of God. That was the beginning. You know, that being vibration itself, and it expressed itself as logos, as spirit, and that's what fills all of creation. So I'm excited to talk about this. And returning to silence is a big practice that I've stepped into in recent years, but that's not something any of us are really ever taught in, mainstream life. So I can firsthand tell you the benefits of sitting in silence. It's transformative, and it really is just where the field of awareness exists. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think both of y'all said a lot of the things I would say, just will reiterate it. Silence is the foundational state where everything manifests from. Brandy pretty much said that as well. And, when you're sitting in silence, you recenter yourself back to source and the quantum field. That's where manifestation and meditation come in hand in hand. Quantum field and spiritual, just like Randy was saying. And I think there's not one tradition or religion that says like, you know, if you don't almost every single Eastern religion says to sit in silence and to recenter yourself and recenter your nervous system. It's like only in these Western religions or religious sects that say, like, if you do that, you're allowing yourself to be a conduit to something else. Well, in reality, that something else is your higher self. And, that's kind of silly to cut yourself off from your higher self. But yeah, that's
But
that's where
that's
I
the
would
whole
start off all
matrix.
this.
But that's the whole point.
Yes, I love that you brought that up because that really didn't even cross my mind. But it is true. I have heard that sitting in churches that, oh, meditation is the devil because if you silence your mind, like the devil is going to jump in there and take over, and it's like it's demonic or whatever. And so the very practice that really is the way into your highest potential um, is demonized. So the
Oh,
very
yeah.
thing
Yeah.
that could get you where you need to be, which is, in that union with God, that, unity space, or unitive consciousness, I guess that'd be the way to articulate it. The very practice that could get you into that unitive consciousness is demonized in churches. So yeah, I'm glad you
It
brought that
really
up.
is.
Yeah,
I sat
inverted.
I sat through an entire sermon about a year ago at a church in Florida with a friend, and he was talking about how meditation is evil and you should only be meditating on God's word. Not understanding that God's word is within, it's that spirit within. It's not just literally the book that King James gave you. It's the spirit of God speaking to you through the Holy Spirit. And so I leaned over to her. I said, "I don't think he knows what meditation is." Like, I mean, we're like 45 minutes into the sermon. I don't think he knows what that word means. She kind of hush. so so I gave her my TED talk later. But yeah, meditation's where you tap in. It's hard to do, though. It's really hard to still our minds, especially when we're taught to be so plugged into the scrolling and the TV and the radio and all the noises going all the time. I call that noise trash, and it just
Yeah.
clutters your field of awareness. So silence, return to silence. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, you could pray too during meditation, there's nobody saying you can't pray, I mean, to be meditative or to be in a meditative state, you're just, like I said, bringing your awareness back into the present moment. You could sit there outside and listen to the rainfall or the birds chirping and be meditating if you
Mhm.
are only focusing on that. There's in that in that present moment awareness is essentially meditation, and when you're there, that's where God is essentially, where he's
Mhm.
able to talk to talk to you,
Yeah.
or at least you're having downloads of from your higher self, from God, from the quantum field. You're opening your third eye when you're in the present moment awareness. You cannot do that when you're thinking of the test or the report you have to write in the future, or what Sally Joe said in the past, or anything like that. If you're in the present moment, that's exactly where connection happens. And obviously frequency goes into this, but right now we're talking about silence. And when you're in that present moment awareness meditative state, that's where a lot of your connection happens with
Yeah,
your higher self.
absolutely. And Annalise, he said you should be meditating on the word of God. Well, what is the word of God, right? Like I
Uh-huh.
just said, that still small voice, it literally is silence if it were to be translated out properly. So silence is the
Yeah.
word of God. I think it was Rumi
Literally.
that
Yeah.
said silence is the language of God. Everything else is a poor translation.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's it exactly.
Yeah.
God does not speak in words like that, God does not speak English, so to speak. It's like it's all is metaphor, it's symbolic.
Oh,
It's
excuse me.
intuition and downloads as well.
Yeah.
And, you know, people who call themselves Christians would mean you model your life after Jesus Christ. And right after he was baptized, he went out to the wilderness for silence and fasting and 40 days of being alone and hearing nothing, doing nothing. And it is then that he was tempted by the devil. But I don't believe it was the man with horns and his stick with Jesus out there in the desert. I think it was his ego inside his own head tempting him. And then he has the voice of actual spirit, God within, saying, "No, no, man doesn't live by bread alone. No, not this. No, no." You know, he went out for silence, and yeah, those scary voices did come up, but those aren't demons. Really, I think those are for most people, that's your own trash that you kind of got to deal with. And it's good to deal with it because then you clean your slate so you can be that kind of that higher frequency, higher vibrational conduit of power, of God on earth for people, for the hands and feet of Jesus, however you like to frame it, of love.
Mm.
So yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And Annalise, I know you're musical, and I've always been compelled by the idea that music is not in the notes, but in the silence between the notes. Who was
Yeah.
it that said that? Was it Mozart?
I don't know who said it, but that sounds like a Mozart thing to
Yeah, I
say.
think it was Mozart. Yeah. But anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, especially as it relates to music, and sound healing because,
Yes.
you're the songbird among us.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, because silence is the base of reality, vibration is a very holy thing. Sound is a very holy thing, and people don't really get that. Um, but everything is vibration, everything is frequency, everything is sound. And I don't just mean the sound you hear with your ears, but the vibration of something. Every single atom vibrates in that field of infinite potential. And that space between the atoms, some people kind of think of that as God too. I mean, that's the infinite potential. That's so everything's vibrating at its own unique rate. Nobody's vibrating quite the same. Every food has a vibration. Every sound obviously has a vibration. We know that, but also colors have vibration, and your furniture has vibration, and this microphone I'm speaking into has vibration. And when you surround yourself with higher frequency things, higher frequency foods, higher frequency music, higher frequency friends, you therefore become higher frequency. And that just means you're literally vibrating at a higher rate so that you can be totally connected to God, so that God can you're always connected to God, but God can't fully animate through you if you're all muddied up with low frequencies, because God is baseline frequency, vibration, energy. And if you're vibrating way down here, he can't do much with that. And I say he, you know what I mean. The force of God can't do much with that. You got to make the choice. And so um I would just say sound is vibration organized into meaning. And um God creates through the word. So creation itself is vibrational. So in the context of music, there's high vibrational music, there's low vibrational music. Your ears might not be able to tell the difference, but your body does. And your nervous system is vibrational. Your nervous system doesn't respond, like you said, it doesn't respond to words. It responds to vibration because the core of your nervous system is that baseline energy. And I hope I'm not losing everybody here with all this science sounding talk, but it is science and it is science backed.
No, that really
And
resonates with me.
yeah, and um, because everything is energy, energy medicine and energy healing and sound healing are really, really more powerful than the mainstream realizes. And we're going to get into that later. So I'm reading a book called The Subtle Body about the energetic anatomy. And we have our physical anatomy that we all know about and we learn about in school, but you're not usually taught that you have an energetic anatomy that actually creates your physical anatomy. And it's the energetic anatomy that determines if you're sick, if you're healthy, if you're happy, if you're peaceful, if you're whole, if you are just succeeding in life. I mean, it is your energetic anatomy. And that's why sound healing and energy healing are so transformative. They're dealing with things that our science can't measure right now, but it can be proven just by outcomes. So in this book, she references Pierre Teilhard de Chardin. something along
Charting.
the charting. Thank you. And he says, and I just think this is so powerful, the day will come when, after harnessing space, the winds, the tides, and gravitation, we shall harness for God the energies of love. And on that day, for the second time in the history of the world, we shall have discovered fire.
Wow.
So, what he's really saying, I think, is when people really understand that everything is energy, like the ancients did, and when they can allow our healthcare systems and our food systems and our everything systems to reflect that, we will have tapped into the infinite potential of love when we treat everything and everybody in that way. And I'll get more into the subtle energy body stuff later on in this episode, but it's very transformative and profound. And I think everybody needs a copy of that book because we weren't taught this stuff, most of us. But it's kind of the most important thing you could be taught for how to live healthy and whole as far as your body goes and your spirit too. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I'll pause there.
Well, I like what you had to say about that. I mean, I totally agree with it. I mean, frequency does organize energy into form, and matter is condensed vibration that's sustained through resonance. And, if everything is energy, vibration, and frequency, then, yeah, then that's what everything you see is just slowed down, like the chair that you see or the chair that you're sitting in right now is a energy that's slowed down so much that it's turned into a crystallized form, which is your chair. And if you were to actually lower your vibration down to the chair's vibration, you would go straight through the chair. That's what that's the kind of world we live in that nobody knows about. Like when everything is vibrating, that means everything is conscious as well. And in that aspect, I mean, when it's vibrating, it's essentially breathing in and out, and that's comes from Terrence Howard, the actor, but he was really more or less a genius. He's way more than an actor. So he says, when everything is vibrating and you're seeing it, on the scale just vibrating like this, every time it's going up and down, vibrating, that's it breathing in and out, in and out, in and out. So he says everything is consciousness. And I totally believe that as well. And it's hard for people to wrap their head around like, okay, I can see how a tree is conscious because it's like alive in the ground, but how could this chair be conscious? Well, it's just kind of like what I said. If things are expanding and de-expanding and that's essentially breathing, not breathing oxygen, but just saying it's here, it's vibrating, it's in your sight. Like that thought form is crystallized at that level of vibration that's held there through resonance, through you looking at it and resonating with it, vibrating at that level.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, our thoughts have vibration too. No thought
Mm.
is neutral. I read that in my Course in Miracles this morning. No thought is neutral. And silence is, I guess we're talking about silence.
right. So silence does, like she just said, when you're in silence and you're meditating and you're manifesting abundance or whatever, you're attracting that vibration to you. And, you know, like we've always said, you're attracting what you put out. So, in frequency terms, if you're in high vibration and you're feeling like, oh, I've already have this, already accomplished this, or you're envisioning yourself having this, you're not at a state of lack. So that means you're not chasing it, which also means you're vibrating at that level of whatever you're envisioning. And therefore you're attracting it into your field. Now, if you're saying like, oh, I really want this, I really want to do this, that's saying like, I don't have that. And the universe doesn't respond to that. That's just the law of the universe,
Well, so we've just given a big spiel about vibration, but I guess the underlying thing that holds all vibration, of course, is silence.
Mm.
And so there is no vibration without the silence. And this vibration creates creation. what you see, but the baseline is still that silence, and that's the place we have to return to again and again and again, I think, to remember we're not the commotion and the sound and the all that's going on at our core. We are the silence. That same still small voice that the
Mhm.
Bible talks about. Yeah.
Yeah, I love what both of you had to say. And Parker, what you said, everything is consciousness, 100%. And in my view, all is God and God is all. There is only one mind. So I would agree that everything is consciousness. So a rock is consciousness. One caveat, though, I would say that a rock is not conscious and that a rock is not self aware. So there's
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're not saying that everything that exists has conscious awareness as we
Mhm.
do. What we are saying is that everything is consciousness.
Yeah.
Everything is an expression of the mind of God. And I think that's a beautiful way to articulate it. And Annalise, when you were talking about the subtle body, what kept coming up for me was the astral body. I've heard people talk about the astral body or what is the etheric body, or
Mhm.
even light body. I've heard
The
people
light
use that
body.
language. So I think it's all just different ways of expressing that same. Wouldn't you agree that the subtle body is all of that?
I would. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it like you said, people just have different words. And the book I'm reading that's called The Subtle Body, she's coming at it from a scientific perspective. But if you're more of maybe as a spiritual practitioner, you might call it the light body, like you
Yeah.
said. Yeah. But
Yeah.
it's just as real. It's more real than your physical body. It's more real than your
Hmm.
physical body. It's
Yeah.
creating your physical body. Um, because we do come from the void, because we do come from the spirit world, that body is what really we bring with us, that subtle body. So,
Yeah.
so the way to heal people best is gonna be through the subtle body, but we'll
Hmm.
get into that later.
Yeah. Well, what I'm thinking about is how frequency is an act of creation itself, which is what we've all three been saying. And in the Christian tradition, we have God speaking the words, "Let there be light." That's kind of what's coming up for me. Let there be light.
Yeah.
And I believe that's indicative of that vibration in the quantum field, that is light bursting forth in full expression. And I think it's J.B. Phillips. Yeah, J.B. Phillips' translation of the New Testament. I think that's one of the best translations of that John 1 logos verse that we were talking about earlier. And it says, "At the beginning, God expressed himself." Instead of "in the
Yeah.
beginning was the word," it's "at the beginning, God expressed himself," because logos is that creative expression of God. So it's synonymous like with Om, which is
Mhm.
in the Hindu tradition. It's the sacred syllable in Indian scripture, which it describes that primordial sound, right, from which all other sounds in creation emerge. So it's like the silence is God,
Mhm.
and then and God is always creating, and so there's always a vibratory expression flowing out of that. So it's almost hard to articulate because how do you speak of the ineffable, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I feel like being in a museum and there's paintings everywhere and you're trying to describe what is a canvas? What is a what well it's it's the thing that holds all of this. It's just
Trying to bite your teeth or see your
That's
eyeball.
right.
Yeah, you can't do it.
That's right. Um, but without the silence, I know that for a fact, as a mom of young kids and just probably a neurodivergent in general, I would label myself at this point. Without silence, sound is overwhelming,
Mhm.
overwhelming. But without sound, silence can feel so pointless. And so I think it's about finding the balance, and,
Yeah.
dropping back into stillness, into silence, but also creating and expressing, but not all the time. And that's what we've fallen into is this world of just create, express, scroll, scroll, scroll,
Mhm.
work, 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 always going, always doing, always hearing, always seeing. It's too much. And we need to return to that silent place.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree, especially about the kid part. I, uh, I totally agree about that. But, I guess some of the things I'll say is just kind of reiterating what Annalise was just saying, but silence and sound are contemporary forces, and sound without silence creates chaos. Silence without sound remains unexpressed. That's yeah. And yeah, and wholeness arises through balance. And to have the balance, you have to have the sound and you have to have the stillness, the silence, sound in the silence.
Yeah.
So,
2 sides of the same coin. It's like you can't have one big inhale or one big exhale. You have to have an inhale and an exhale.
yeah, right.
Everything is cyclical. Yeah. So, and I think that's an issue. We tend to think of sound and silence as 2 separate commodities when in fact it's really just 2 sides of the same coin and it works together. And I'm thinking about string theory because string theory literally proposes that vibration is fundamental to all that exist, and for there to be a vibration there has to be silence, right? So, and
Yeah.
that's what we're trying to get at with all of these different ways of articulating it as we sit here and talk about it. And I'm thinking about what is it called? Is it cymatics?
Oh,
When
somatics. Yeah.
yeah, in that, so that's like where sound organizes matter into geometric designs, like you play certain
Yeah.
frequency and it makes certain designs or whatever.
Yep.
Uh, and it will actually create or mirror harmonic ratios.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
just think that's
And
pretty
yeah.
compelling.
Yeah, and sacred geometry. I mean, y- we're talking about the same thing, right? Where you put the sound on or the sand
It's a
Yeah,
plate.
on the
that's what I
plate.
was trying to yeah, that's what I was trying to talk about.
Maybe we
Yeah.
maybe we can link that video here because that really sealed it in for me when I saw they play a certain tone through this vibrational plate with sand or maybe salt, I think it's
Yeah.
sand on top, and based on the tone, it will create a different geometric pattern perfectly.
Frequency, yeah.
The frequency, it'll create like a lotus flower looking shape, and
Yeah.
then they play a different tone and it shifts to something else. It's proving to you how frequency changes matter
Yeah.
Mm.
and what it does to you and to me. And that video sealed it in for me. And it also showed how sacred geometry and sound connect hand in hand.
Yeah, it's pretty compelling evidence that frequency also is the ordering principle of reality. So not only does it affect matter, as you can see in the experiment with the sand is, creating certain um, uh, geometric shapes or whatever, but also the fact that it's ordering reality, right? We see
Right,
something
yeah.
that, yeah, so something non physical is actually ordering something physical. And so reality is not made up of physical elements, it's made of energy. It's made of energetic rhythms and patterns. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your nervous system responds to those patterns. So like when you feed it um low humming tones, like the ancients did, you're
Yeah.
soothing it. That's what it responds to is these low humming patterns or but the repetition of silence and sacred sound is just incredible what it's been doing in my own life and what I see it doing for the future of medicine, really.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, like what Annalise was saying second ago about you have frequency, and the frequency is turning sacred geometry. The frequency is turning into sacred geometry, which is turning into the basis of the reality that we live in right now, that you see and that you experience is all the creation of that frequency,
Mhm.
creating the building blocks of the sacred geometry that therefore create this reality that we experience. And it's pretty amazing, when you think about it, and it gets even deeper than that. But I mean, that just alone is like,
Yeah.
just kind of proves like what Nikola Tesla was saying. The secrets of the universe are energy, frequency, and vibration.
Yeah. 100%. And, I'm thinking also, in this culture, people have such an aversion to silence because they feel like it's a void, like it's non-activity. And so we try to distract ourselves with all of the things, like you were saying earlier, Annelise, like, phones and social media and entertainment or whatever. But in reality, silence is not a void. It's the medium of a higher frequency. Silence isn't empty. That's a quote. I can't remember who said it, but it's something like silence is not empty. It's full of answers. And that's
Mhm.
why, like, people can, maybe they're struggling to work through a problem or something like that. But then when they go to sleep, and the higher self comes online and the ego self kind of steps out of the way, the unconscious is able to do its work. Within that silence comes the answers, right? People wake up and they have sudden spurts of inspiration, or suddenly they wake up and they know what they need to do. And I think that's because silence is not a void, it's actually full of just a higher frequency. And the frequency of the quantum field is a frequency of truth. And that's like super uncomfortable, right? To the egoic self. So the unconscious speaks to us as we sit in silence. And that's part of shadow work. And that's not popular because it's super
Mhm.
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I think people resist silence because then they have to deal with themselves. When
Yes.
100%.
when you have to deal with yourself and you can't keep numbing yourself or pressing the mute button with, things that distract you. But that's where it happens.
I know this winter storm probably got everybody in their shadow work, everybody who was without power and
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
didn't have phones, and I hope
Yeah.
everybody was okay with
I
that
know.
winter storm,
Yeah.
by the way, too.
Yeah, we got it tough over here in Tennessee. So prayers.
Yeah.
Prayers and love and light and all the things truly because it's a mess. But back to the silence, that silence is home. Like silence is home. And I'm a chatty Kathy at heart. I would love to talk to people. I love to express my thoughts and my feelings. But even I have to stop and remember, shut up. Silence is home. Be
Yeah.
quiet.
Yeah.
That's where the peace is. And truly, our Brandy, I told you this, but our youngest son has just started putting his finger up to people and going shh whenever they get too chatty, because he is also a proud neurodivergent who just does not need the blah blah in his ears. It's overstimulating, and he's done with it. And so he's just started straight up shh when people are blah blahing too much, being too loud, being too. He needs silence. That's where it's at. And I'm with him. I'm about ready to just start shh on people these days
Yeah.
too.
I think we should all just do that. Just make
Yeah.
it an acceptable norm to shush people mid sentence
Yes.
when you've had enough.
Say shush. I'm
Just
overstimulated.
that's it. Enough. Yeah.
Yes.
Your time is up.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's silence is uncomfortable, but it's you need it. You need it.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
was thinking, as you were talking, I was thinking about Eckhart Tolle. He talks a lot about being fully present in the now, which is essentially it's the same thing we're talking about, which is to stop identifying with that ego narrative, right? And bring our awareness to the present moment. And that's where we tap into that frequency of silence. And
Right.
that is where clarity and enlightenment is. It's where God is. We like to think of enlightenment, I think, as some elevated, blissful state of existence, but it's just being where your feet are without wishing things were other than they are. So it's really just silent awareness, which is actually a very high frequency. It's the Om or the Logos that transforms the world around us.
Truly. And silence is where your like awareness gets to hear the direction from however you phrase it, from God, from your higher self, from the Holy Spirit. Those only arise in silence and in the now.
Hmm.
So if you're not in silence and you're not in the now, it's kind of hard to hear where those feet are supposed to go. And I think that's pretty much the main reason we're all not in silence and in the now, because the systems that be, they don't nobody wants you hearing from your higher self. you know, if they can just keep that ego going for you, that thing will just kill you on its own. So they don't want you getting in the silence. But it's
Yeah.
really important that you do.
Yeah, I know for, like, a lot of guys, at least I know a couple guys that will, they don't wanna sit in silence or meditate because I think because I know them that they don't really want to face what's on the inside, and that's probably a lot of people, like a lot of guys. It's kind of on this spiritual path. It's not really a shortcut to the end destination that we're all really trying to get to. Like it's not a, and what I mean by that is just, I mean, we try to be our best higher selves. So you trying to do that, you might, you might come into contact with, oh, I'm running into past demons, during this silent time. Well, that's the, shadow work that's going to have to be integrated and, face down. And, you're going to have to just face it like a man and just transmute it. That's what it just,
It's
it,
not just men, Parker.
I know, but I guess I'm just
Oh,
talking to the men here. Like,
yeah.
I think the men will run away from it faster than the women will with the
Oh, I
shadow
don't
work.
know. I don't know. I've had
No.
lots of women tell me they don't like sitting in silence because they get bored. They're like, it's just so
Uh,
boring. That's the word they use. But see, I read something, about children and boredom. I don't know if you guys are familiar. I don't even
Yeah.
have kids, so I'm sure you know better than I do. But it's like, kids get bored, and parents often rush to try to fix the boredom, help them find something to do so that they're not whining about being bored. But if you allow them to be bored or actually facilitate times where they have to be bored, that is where creativity steps in. It's in that boredom that the higher self speaks and that you're, led into creativity. So not just children, but adults need to sit in silence for the
Yeah.
sheer fact that boredom itself is a gateway into creativity and the higher self, the functions of the higher self.
yeah, absolutely. You cannot create if your ego is always trying to manipulate the next step of your creation. Like
That's
you
right.
have to have space to allow the creation thought, download, whatever you want to call it, to drop into to your psyche, your field, or whatever you want to call it as well. Like
Yeah.
to be in silence is to make space for the new creation to come in to play and for you to download it and then execute it if that's what you so choose to do, but if your mind is always racing, you're never going to have time to just have a moment to create.
That's right, because the ego is controlling and that's stifling, right? It's constricting. And so you're cutting yourself off from all of these possibilities because the ego is running in a loop of the limited awareness, of the
Yeah.
ego. And
Yeah.
yeah, so you're just spinning that same narrative over and over. The ego gets out of the way though, in that silence, boredom, whatever. And then suddenly you have an expanded awareness. It's a field, an expansive field where all this potential is bursting forth. And so that's what it means to be childlike, to have that childlike wonder. And yeah, so yeah, our creativity is born in the silence, in the boredom. So I thought that was worth mentioning. Parents, let your kids be bored.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's my
Well,
parenting style.
yeah. When I was a kid, we went outside and we played with sticks and things, like in the, it was not, we didn't stay inside playing video games and things like that all day. And so you had to be imaginative and creative. And you were out, in your body in an embodied kind of way, riding bicycles, building forts, imagining things. And so I think that's largely lost. Today, which we're not really talking about that. We're talking about silence. And so to get us back on topic, I will just say that if everything is energy and therefore everything is vibrating and carrying a frequency, I'm thinking about how we're all affected by energy continually. Annelise, you mentioned this earlier, and we didn't get into it. We didn't really drill down into it, but a lot of people are not even aware of how much they are affected, by energy. They think they're just having a bad day, or other people are just irritating, or whatever. They feel the effects, but they can't really name it. And when people talk about feeling someone's energy, it can sound kind of abstract or mystical, kind of woo-woo, but it's really a very practical and grounded, phenomenon. It's one of the most immediate ways that we register energy is through our nervous system. And our nervous system is constantly scanning the environment for safety or threat. And this happens before conscious thought at all. So we feel it in our bodies first. And I just think about all the things that affect us energetically, like tone of voice or how someone's speaking to us, regardless of the words maybe that are coming out of their mouth, facial expressions, body language, eye contact, all of those things. We're continually picking up on all those subtle cues, and we're not even consciously aware of it. It's like, when someone says something just felt off, but they can't really say why. It's that energetic information coming through so fast that they're not even consciously aware of what they know on an unconscious level. And something that's kind of funny, I've always been able to read energy pretty well. Like most of my life, I had no idea what to even call it. And because so often the people around me seem to not be picking up on it in the same way that I was, I thought something was wrong with me. So, like, I would feel, like a strong aversion to someone, for instance, or a place or a circumstance. But everybody around me seemed to think, they were just great. So I spent my life trying to like push past that inner repulsion, to just kind of go with the collective flow, thinking that something was wrong with me. And after my grandmother pushed her way back into time and space, and I began having conversations with her through the veil, I started to ask her about things like, when I would have an aversion to certain people or places or situations, I would just ask her about it. And she would say, bad energy. And so I finally figured it out. I know bad energy when I encounter it, even if it's someone who's like friendly on the surface, plugged into the church, donating time and money to good causes, doing all the things that constitute good people in our society. And even if the situation or place seems good on the surface, sometimes like nothing is obviously off, the underlying energy can be bad. And I think it's also important to say that someone can seem bad by the world's standards also and be good energy. So it really does boil down to the heart posture, which, is why we're told in scripture, I think, that we judge wrongly because we look at outer appearances, but God judges rightly because he looks at the heart. But anyway, that was kind of a tangent, but energy never lies, and I feel it. And I'm really grateful for my grandmother for so many reasons, but that one thing, it really helped me to trust my own inner knowing. It kind of, it really set me free in that capacity.
I love that. I
Yeah.
feel the same way.
Yeah, she does. She feels all the energy.
Yeah. I
It's too
think you
much.
feel feelings too, though. I mean, I think you're empathic, Annelise. I
Mhm.
think you're really tapped into the emotional.
Yeah.
You feel people's energy, but you also feel an emotional resonance, and I
Yeah.
don't.
Unfor Unfortunately, I have to feel what other people feel.
Yeah.
Uh, and like you said, like as somebody who I've stepped into that trust of like, I can read energy because God enabled it in every one of us, and I'm just listening. And
Mm.
now that I've stepped into that, it makes it kind of hard, social settings where you got to be with somebody and their exact energy, even when their face is smiling and saying all the right things. You know their
Yes.
energy. And you got to pretend like you're being nice, so I'm being nice. But really, their energy. And it's hard. It's hard to have that X-ray vision sometimes, but it's such a gift. And it's how like you said, how our nervous system directs us. And, but you don't even like have to understand energy and frequency to be affected by it. Like you're going to be affected by it, whether you
Yes.
understand it or not. Just like whether you understand how your digestive tract works or not, you're going to digest your food and it's either going to be good for you or bad for you. Um,
Yeah.
so when you feel good vibes, bad vibes from somebody, listen to that. Listen to that. That's not woo woo. That's like your literal inner compass. Your inner
Yeah.
compass. It really is. And dogs, animals, they go off that. They go off energy.
Yeah.
I'll trust who my dog trusts. I won't
Yeah.
trust who my dog doesn't trust because
Dogs know.
she knows what's up. Yeah. So but that's that subtle energy body that I was talking about and that this book is all about. It's a whole new world to go into if you're not familiar with it. And it's the world that creates the world you see and the world that you might be suffering in. You can undo a lot of suffering if you treat the energy and the frequency of your life rather than treating the symptoms that low frequency life is producing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And
very well said.
I'll get into more with like sound healing and stuff here in a minute, but it's amazing. And I'm a, if I put a label on myself, I'd say I'm now a sound healer. And people say, what does that mean? And I just say, well, I'm learning how to heal with sound. And they look at me like a wacko. And some have even told me that's demonic. And that's just, that one is hilarious because music is like the language of God.
It's like
Okay.
you are demonic.
Yeah,
you
you are
you
demonic for
are
saying
the
that.
Yeah.
you are literally an impediment here. Yeah.
As they go and
Yes.
listen to Lil Wayne in the car, your
Yeah,
sound is demonic. Oh, let me turn up
that's
Lil
right.
Wayne.
So, sound baths, sound healing, tuning forks, all the things are so beneficial because they're tuning you back because uh, your body needs tuning the same way a piano does. There's nothing wrong with you. You're just out of tune. Just like when the
Yeah.
piano goes out of tune, you shouldn't just throw it away. You get the guy over to tune it up. So it's back to playing the melodies it was always made to play. You're the same way. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that because the nervous system really is the interface between matter and spirit. So it's the tuning fork. Like the nervous system is the tuning fork within us. It converts vibration to sensation. And then, and then different states of regulation tune us into different bands of reality. Now, like Parker says, whether you're turned to this station or that station, this frequency or that frequency, it definitely matters. It has an effect on how we process the world around us, how we interact with others. And I think spiritual enlightenment is really about the stabilization of the nervous system.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it's really that grounded. It's not woo-woo. It's not mystical. And the more integrated we are, the more regulated the body will be. And that's what gives us the ability to live relaxed and at peace, right? It's a balanced nervous system. We're no longer tensed up or guarded against a myriad of perceived threats. So that's what it means to be enlightened. It's not about some mystical mountaintop experience. It's about being grounded and present and, and fully relaxed and at peace within your own physical body.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like Annelise was saying that she's been practicing being a sound healer and she has these sound bowls. And, one night I was really stressed out, just like super stressed out from just worldly matrix crap. And just kind of sat in the living room where she was practicing and just kind of closed my eyes and was just listening to the sound bowl. And man, I could feel just the weight of tension and all that stuff just kind of come off. And it even got to the point where tears started coming out of my eyes. And I wasn't sad, I wasn't crying, but
It's moving.
it was like
Mm.
releasing emotions that were there, that I guess just manifested
Yeah.
as stress or something. But what I'm trying to tell you is that the sound bowls literally calmed my nervous system down to the point of like release.
Mhm.
And that was pretty amazing. I thought, and also when our house gets super zoo like and kids are running around screaming, we'll tell them to be quiet and we'll turn on
A sound bath.
a sound bath in the house super loud, at least to carry through the house. And it really calms down the
Oh, it
house,
does. It
not like
Yeah.
blasting, but, relaxed
Yeah.
noise throughout the house.
Yeah. I do that
well,
too. I play like a frequency in the background, to keep
Yeah.
just the atmosphere, a certain vibration or whatever, or humming. I know you know that. Annalise,
yeah.
but yeah, just a
Hum to
hum.
yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's right. Hum to yourself. That's like the ancients chanting, and that's medicine. Hum, that
Yeah.
that'll bring you back. And what's so cool is that each sound ball is tuned to 444 hertz. 440 hertz, and mine are um I'm building a chakra set. So each sound ball is connected to one of your chakras, and a chakra is an energy center. So if somebody was to come to me and say, "Hey, I've just been really struggling with anger. I just can't forgive so and so, and I'm just always popping off at my kids and my wife or my husband or whatever it is." I can open my book and say, oh, anger. Well, where is that held? Oh, that's held in the such and such chakra. Let me get out my sea bowl. Dong. And I can round and round, and I can tune that person's energy center back to wholeness where they can release that lower vibration that is causing them to be so angry. So it's not magic. It's not woo woo. It's like actually science backed. And I think people are just now getting to learn that. And so I'm happy to kind of demystify it for people too, as I'm learning as well.
Yeah. Science and spirituality put together pretty much. I mean, it like the science is there that shows the frequencies and shows the vibrations and shows how it affects yourself and it shows how it affects the water that's within your body. Like
Mhm.
this isn't woo woo. Like she keeps saying, like this is seriously like scientifically backed. Like your doctor's not going to know this because he would be out the job, but or at least he won't tell you this, but this stuff that we're telling you is what the ancients did way back. We'll talk about like the big drum that every culture seems to have. Yeah, that drum was to get your energy up and pumped up to go and do whatever you were supposed to do. Now you go into like Egypt and you have these special harps and you have these other types of instruments. They played those as well for sound healing. I don't know if they necessarily knew the science behind that, but they knew that this harp right here played in this room with this person sitting here heals them, and that's amazing that, ancients knew that. And it may have been carried on from other past civilization, it may have just been information that just transferred over, but we're coming back into alignment with ancient stuff that helps the body. Like this isn't new stuff.
Well, it's not a coincidence that people don't know it because it's been suppressed. Like modern scientific backing research has been suppressed by the systems over the centuries because it's seen as a threat to the established medical practice of our time, which has divided medicine into Eastern and Western medicine, which is never how it was supposed to be. It was just Eastern medicine forever. And then we came over here and slapped on Western medicine, your traditional medicine. We treat it with a pill. We treat your
Rockefeller.
we treat your symptoms, we don't treat your disease. Well, listen. Every disease is caused by energetic imbalances. Every disease is an energetic imbalance. So you can treat your symptoms all day long, but if you're not treating the energetic imbalance that caused your disease, you're just running in circles. So there's a reason it's been suppressed. And I think this whole conversation, this knowledge coming back is like a key in the ignition of the new earth. Like if medical systems, food systems, music industry, if everybody jumped on the high frequency train and the energetic balance train, we'd be living in heaven on earth.
Yeah.
Quite
Yeah.
literally. I have just kind of a little information I'd love to share about kind of the background of the sound healing stuff. Like Parker was saying, the ancients did it. We lost it. We established our own system that obviously doesn't work. And in that book, The Subtle Body, she says, we have only to look at the increasing rates of cancer, heart disease, mental illness, and stress-related conditions to know that the boundaries of healing have to stretch further. These diseases aren't going away. We're not really treating the diseases. And we talked about the subtle energy body and how it creates the physical. So everything you're experiencing with your five senses is created from that place of the subtle energy. And the sound healing addresses the underlying cause rather than the symptoms. Because tearing tissue disturbs the frequency of your muscles. And so having surgery, that's gonna lower your frequency. That's gonna hurt you. Sickness disturbs your vibrational field as well. It's gonna lower you. So treating the symptoms is not going to heal anybody. It's going to be through returning to the vibrational field of the body's natural state that you get total healing. And honestly, this is maybe a hot take, but I believe this is how Jesus did his hands-on healing, is by working through the subtle energy body. I think he fully knew that we have the capability to do that as humans. He called us to do it. He told us we should do it and we would do it if we had the faith that we could do it. And if we just purified our vessels enough to let the power flow so we could do it. And that's what he was doing, was he was working with the subtle energy systems to heal blindness, to heal leprosy on the skin, because it's all based in energy. That's how you can heal people. That's what Jesus wanted us doing. But they tell you can't, and you need to go to the doctor instead. And this is not to knock doctors. I love doctors. I see doctors more often than I'd like to. I they're great, but you need both. And this is the divine feminine coming back. Okay, bring the subtle energy body back. We've got the Western medicine, and that's helpful. But if you're not treating the energetic body in your healthcare system or in your mental healthcare system, you're missing everything. So there's integrative medicine now is a term you hear, integrative medicine, which is kind of combining Eastern and Western, which is how it should be, really. And the book I referenced said, this physical reality does not lie within the physical universe, but rather in the subtle planes and energies that run through everything. This philosophy universalizes medicine and should, as all medical systems are actually energetic in nature. You know, if you're getting surgery done, that's energy in action. If you're taking a pill, that's energy. Everything is energy. And there's a doctor that the book talks about, Dr. Giuseppe, I'm going to try to say it, Caligaris. And he would actually interpret the patterns and shapes of a patient's skin, maybe under a microscope, I'm not sure how, but he would look at the patterns to diagnose their disease. Because like that vibrational plate with the sand, the pattern that it shows is going to be a physical formation of the frequency that person is living in or that disease is manifesting in. And he could just look at the pattern of their skin and tell them what disease they had. But most of all that kind of treatment is hush hush and woo woo and don't do that. That doesn't work. You know, all those lies that they tell you, it does work. And it starts though with a return to silence. It starts there because that's your baseline reality. That's your nervous system's home. And once you can start tuning yourself like a piano, literally tuning yourself up to like a higher vibrational field, you will heal. Your spirit will heal. Your body will heal. Everything will heal. I'm not saying you don't ever suffer again and it's a perfect world. It's not like that. You're still a human, but you're a high vibe human, and that's you're embodying heaven on earth then. So that's my spiel about sound healing and my plug for that.
I love it.
And yeah, I'm just really excited to share more of that with the world.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing all that. It's really, it's really enlightening. And when both you and Parker were talking, I was thinking of King David. He played the harp for Saul, so it's even in the Bible. It was that he played it to, was it the evil spirit tormenting Saul or whatever? It would calm that. So it was indicative of, of deliverance and the healing power of music, but it just gets glossed over, I think, a lot in mainstream, thought. But sound stimulates the vagus nerve response. So it's like you're saying, it's scientific. So everything that we're listening to is impacting our entire being, like our heart and our lungs. Everything is connected and affected by frequency. And when we think about it, even our breath is a vibration. It affects our total system, which is why slow breathing is healing. It actually lowers our heart rate and, affects our blood pressure, things like that. Chanting, which you mentioned, Annelise. It changes our CO2 levels, our brain waves, things like that. So all of the spiritual rituals that require like chanting or vocalizing particular words, they're really just drawing on that healing power. And I recently was reading something like when you were sharing, what I was thinking about is I have been reading recently like about high magic or ritual magic. And when something needs to be spoken or chanted, it's referred to as vibrating. So I thought it was funny that they use that word vibrating. So like if you're supposed to speak the name Yeshua, they'll tell you to vibrate the name Yeshua. So vibration is the key factor. And it's drawing on that creative power of vibration and frequency, right? Like our realities are shaped by the frequency that we're living from and whatever we're emitting out into the world around us. So, yeah, I thought that was super fascinating.
I love that.
Yeah, and, piggybacking off of what you were saying about the Bible and the harp, there's another story with sound about in the Bible too, about the, walls of Jericho. They walking
Oh,
around Jericho 3 times and they blow the horn. We
mm-hmm.
all know you can blow a horn and nothing's gonna happen, but they had a sound weapon or whatever they had, and they blew that horn or did something with a horn, and that energy from the sound came out and knocked down the walls. I mean,
Mhm.
it's right there in the Bible. It says it, like
Yes,
And
that's there.
makes me think of that verse, life and death are in the power of the tongue.
Oh, yeah.
Because your word is your power, because your word is God's power. God is in the beginning was the word, in the beginning was that vibration. And how does it manifest now? It comes through your mouth. Whether you know it or not, you're creating a reality with what you say because you have the power of God in you, whether you recognize that or not. And so when you speak all this stupidity and negativity,
You're spelling.
you're spelling over your own life. When you speak positive, high frequency, love, you're creating heaven on earth. You have
Mhm.
so much power in your vibrational voice. It's insane. I mean, Jesus even said, "You say to the mountains, move, and they'll move." And
Yeah.
and I remember being a kid say, that can't happen. I can tell that mountain to move all day, but now I know what he means. The power is in the vibration of your
Yeah.
voice. You say it and it's done. It really is like that in the quantum world.
Yeah.
I'm learning that like the hard way, that it's what you say, you create. The vibration of your voice is so powerful. So powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What about that verse? Oh, what is it? You'll be held accountable for every careless word that you speak.
Mhm.
Like that's a little bit scary, but it's because everything, like you're saying, every word you speak has power. And so you are spelling. Some people are like, oh, magic is the devil. It's like, well, everything is magic. So,
yeah,
Everything's
exactly.
like everything, yeah. So,
You're
yeah,
just creating. Yeah, everything is creation, and you can create the worst thing in the world through your
mm,
vibration,
that's
or
right.
you could create the best thing in the world through your vibration, but
That's how you pray without ceasing. You're not literally going around petitioning God, without end. That's not what prayer is anyway, like petitionary type. Yeah.
yeah.
So to pray without ceasing is we all are praying without ceasing because we're all vibrating continuously. It's just that most of us are praying for things we don't want instead of things that we
Yeah.
Right.
do want. Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that was my most transformative spiritual practice, is realizing when I complain, I'm bringing those things into my reality.
Yeah.
Because when I was in a chronic pain state for so long that triggered my spiritual awakening, I would say, "Oh, I hurt. Oh gosh, I hurt so much today," or things like that. And I would notice I would hurt more. The more I talked about my pain, the worse my pain became. And the
Mm.
training I went through during my healing, it would say, "Don't even talk about it." Or if you need to talk about it, say something more like, um, "I feel a sensation right now that's not comfortable."
Mhm.
Anything that's not just speaking out more negativity, because
Yeah.
you create what you speak. And so you
Yeah.
want to heal, quit talking about your ailments and speak life over them. I know
Yeah.
that doesn't make sense to the mind, but that's where it's at.
Yeah, it's a
Well,
loop.
quit claiming them too, like my pain. No, you
Yeah,
feel pain. It's not my pain. It's like, or anger, whatever emotion, anything, it's like anger is arising within me. It's not my anger. I'm not going to
right.
lay claim to it. I knew a lady years ago that used to say if she ever had a cold or something like that, you'd ask how she's doing. She would say, I'm coming down with a healing.
Oh, I like
So,
that.
not coming down with a cold or whatever. I'm coming down with a healing. So
That's
it's not
right.
to like to deny the existence of an ailment or pretend you don't feel bad when you do. Yet, but it's to not take ownership of it in a way that, oh, this is
Mhm.
my suffering and I'm gonna wallow in it. It's like, no, I feel bad now, but I believe that I
Yes.
am coming down with a healing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. I'm putting that one in my pocket.
Yeah. I say it because she used to say it. I say it a lot now, and I say it and it makes me laugh because I think of her. Um,
Oh.
but yeah, in light of everything we've been saying, it's easy to see how certain spiritual practices are designed to shift frequency, right? It's because, and once the frequency is shifted, everything else follows. So I think a lot of people think, I don't know, spiritual practices are designed just to center you or in a way that changes conceptual thought, but that's not really it. It's about changing or shifting your actual core or base frequency. And prayer is greatly, like I kind of alluded to that earlier, but is greatly distorted in mainstream Western Christianity. It's really about coherence and alignment. And it's not about asking God to move, but it's about attuning ourselves to the frequency of God. And in
Yeah.
churches, which I think it's, really why I like the Episcopal tradition a lot, like the liturgy, the incense, the bells, Gregorian
Mhm.
chant, all of those things are designed to shift ourselves at the most fundamental level. And that's something that's really evolved for me over time. I remember, well, when I was first introduced to centering prayer, which is essentially just sitting zazen, but it's
Mhm.
under the Christian umbrella. It's, centering prayer. And I thought that was just about shifting things at that level of thought, like that conceptual level. And it's really not. It's about shifting things at the deepest level of our being. It's about changing our frequency, calming the nervous system. And now I see all of the various practices as methods of shifting our frequency. Like if you repeat a ritual enough times with certain visualizations, vibrations, eventually something shifts at a deep level. I think of the Christian mass even. But what do you guys think? Are certain practices more beneficial, or have you found yourself drawn to a particular practice?
For me, it's the meditation and the quiet time in the morning time for me.
Yeah,
I get up early in the morning and I get up like 2 hours before the kids get up just so I can center
yeah.
myself because I found that's the only way to do that.
Brace yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Um, but yeah, that and, when it's not freezing outside, I like to go outside and, like, listen to the nature as a
yeah,
meditative practice, you know? Um, but yeah, that's what I like to do, and in the morning time for me, it's a lot of, like, reflection and kinda just centering around just, like, God and my higher self, source,
Mhm.
just aligning myself to, what I need to accomplish and, just getting my head right in the morning. I really feel like that goes a long ways for myself. But like I was saying, meditation too.
yeah. That
Yeah.
resonates. That makes perfect sense because, like you said, you get yourself out of the way, like the ego self out of the way,
Mhm.
and
Uh-huh.
then align yourself with the divine, or the quantum realm, however somebody likes to
Yeah.
articulate it. And then, everything just flows. Your entire frequency shifts.
Yeah. And I want to say this too, because this is like the most important thing, I think. And me and her both will probably get a tattoo of it one day, but it's we have this phrase just is ride the wave. We've probably
Mhm.
said this on the podcast, but when you can allow yourself to not control the in the moment situation, you'll be amazed at what unlocks and what flows a lot better than you putting up the stop gates at every single, futuristic point that you're thinking about. You're
Mhm.
just in the moment and you're allowing things to flow. And, I know that's hard for like business people because they're like, I got appointments and all this stuff. You do, but you can also be in the moment at the same time. You can have that
Yeah.
awareness of your appointment, but also be in that moment at the
Right.
same time.
I love that. As you were saying that, what came to me, you guys both know, but every year we have a particular tarot card that is our birth year card or whatever. It's our yearly card. Anyway, not to get down the rabbit hole of tarot, but this year for me, my card is the Hanged Man, which it's all about riding that wave and letting go.
Yeah.
That's why I looked over my shoulder. I have the Hanged Man card sitting here beside me on this little altar to remind me, let go, just ride the wave. And I literally visualize like a cork sitting on the water, just
Yeah.
riding the waves, just going
Oh,
with the flow. Yeah, so that's the image for me this year. So,
That's right.
yeah.
I like that. Unfortunately, why is it so hard to do
Ah,
something as easy as be a cork on a wave?
because they're so
Yeah.
controlling and they must control.
I'm the
We must
core.
control to be safe.
It's
We're
so
a
hard
little
to do the easiest thing, right?
with the
Yeah.
spiritual practice thing. I just want to remind people something I've been learning because of grace, and I'd label it as because of God's grace, you're already healed and whole. Like you're not broken and you're a mess and you have to fix yourself. Like you're healed and whole because God gave you life and you're the life of God in form. You're just out of tune if you're feeling suffering. If you're suffering, if you're sick, if you're depressed, there's nothing wrong with you. You're still the light of God on earth, like Jesus called people to be. You're just out of tune. And I think if people could start looking at themselves more like an out of tune piano rather than like some crushed, shattered glass that needs repair, they could do the work themselves. They'd be motivated to do it. It really is just as simple as like falling back into tune. Your nervous system knows what it's like to be in tune. Silence is where it can get in tune. But along with that silence, I would just say, um, like an intentional meditation or prayer, an intentional prayer where you're talking to God, and there's that intentional meditative part where God's talking to you. It's all like Brandy says, it's all God talking to God, but we have to frame it in this way for our little human pea brains to get it sometimes. And I think consistency matters more than intensity. I am finding that tuning up one time isn't going to cut it. Just like a guitar, I have to tune my guitar like multiple times during a gig. And I have to tune myself multiple times during the day. Like multiple times I have to pull myself away and recenter, have a moment of silence, remember that stillness beneath my blah blah ego that just doesn't stop, but I'm aware of it, so now I can at least choose to hit the mute button, and that'll do a lot for you. Um, but yeah, just consistency. Return to it again and again. Don't think you're going to do it once and now you're good forever. Like continually choose that higher vibe, whatever the decision you have. If it's do I eat this or that? Okay, well, which one's like higher vibe? Which one does the temple of God need to be ingesting? And I know it's never the yummiest thing, but I'm just giving you like a strict example. You would choose the higher vibe thing. If it's do I listen to this song or that song? Okay, well, which one's going to uplift my soul more? Okay, choose that thing. Do I choose to hang out with this friend or that friend? All right, who's more high vibe? And you will slowly align yourself to your highest self, to God, to be that like whole conduit of love and power and peace here on earth. But it's every single day. And I'm preaching at myself because I just think, oh gosh, I should have had it by now. I've tuned up a million times. I should be fine. Why am I slipping back? It's every day, multiple times a day. You just keep tuning up, and God does the work, or source, or whatever language you like to use. The frequency of base reality, God, love, does the work if you just kind of tune yourself into the conduit that he can work through. That's what I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very good. I like that. The fact that we do have to continually circle back. I think that's important also in meditation itself, not just the choices that we're making out, in the world around us, but even as we sit on the cushion and try to meditate or do centering prayer. The point is to let go of thought, but it's a continual, that is the practice, right? It's the
Yeah.
continually letting go. The practice is not sitting there in some blissed out elevated state. The practice is to let go of thought. And so if you let go of a million thoughts, then you've had a good practice. I've had people tell me, "Oh, I just can't do it. I have so many thoughts." I'm like, "Well, good. That's like every thought is an opportunity to let go, and that is the practice because you're training yourself, your mind to let go as you go about your day." So it's just like, how often can I notice that I'm caught up in the Shinpa and then
Mhm.
release. Notice and release. That's the practice. And so, really, sitting on the cushion is just practice for what you need to be doing throughout your day. You're washing the dishes, just return to the moment, return to the moment.
I
Yeah.
love every thought is an opportunity to let go. I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Ram Dass said, even once you have this big realization, this aha moment of like the unity consciousness, the love of God, whatever you want to call it, you still have to chop the wood and carry the
Yeah.
water.
That's right.
Before you realized that, you had to chop the wood and carry the water. And after you realize that, you also have to chop the wood and carry the water.
That's
But this
right.
time, you do it, like you said, like totally present in that peace moment. And that's where you feel it. That's where you feel that magic that we call God or God's peace or God's presence. Even if you're washing dishes, chopping wood, carrying water, it's there.
Especially if you're, yeah.
Especially then. And the
Yeah.
Bible puts it like this, something like, do everything as if you were doing it for the Lord.
Mm.
Whatever you do, consecrate it to the Lord. When
Right.
I was a girl, it was taught to me, like, if God's coming to your house, how clean are your toilets going to be? Do it for the Lord. He's coming to your house. But now I get it. No, it's in
Oh,
every moment, be in that moment completely, because that's where God is. So in everything you do it with full presence, quote, quote, for the Lord. I mean, every moment is dedicated to only that moment, nothing else. And that's where you find the peace of God. And then it,
yeah.
and then it, and then it zoop, flies away because you have a thought, and then you bring it back,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then it flies away, and you bring it back over and over and over. And I think that's the whole dance.
Yeah.
Well, I think the key word there of both of y'all is practice, because when you sit on the cushion, you will not be in total bliss. I will tell you that right now. It's
Mm-mm.
going to take practice, and you're going to have to, like Brandy said, learn to, and Annelise said, when when any of those thoughts come in, you just have to learn to let it go, and you're going to find yourself wandering off with the thoughts. And then when you do, you just bring yourself back to the center of attention. But just everything they said is, totally right. The only thing I have to say is it takes practice, practice
Yeah.
every day and you'll be better at it.
You're working that muscle. That's the
Yeah.
whole point, right? So
If
it's,
it
yeah.
if it was easy, we would all be doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm thinking, Annalise, you said like God is gonna come check your toilets or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, oh, did you clean? I'm thinking that's anxiety inducing. That doesn't
Isn't
make
it?
any. Yeah, that
Isn't
to
it?
me is like such a distortion of. It's like, oh gosh, God is now gonna come through my house and check to see if I've dusted, and suddenly I have to get, like I need to.
Yes.
Oh my gosh,
He's coming
yes,
to your house today. No, because like truly,
yeah,
if you're the temple of the Spirit, then everything you do is for God.
right.
Everything you do. And when
But
you
it's
serve
about heart
someone
posture.
heart, yeah.
Yeah,
When
yeah,
you serve someone else, you're doing it for God. When
yeah,
you take care of someone else, do it as if you're doing it for God. It's just all saying the same thing, I think, of present moment, full awareness, you know?
yeah.
Um, but the way it's taught to children in churches, I was one, is so twisted. And
Mm-hmm.
like to learn it now, it's still it is true. The scripture is true. It's just not how it was taught to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's finding its new truth now as an adult that's been so transformative. Like
Yes.
I hear that verse now as spend every moment as if you're in the presence of God, because you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you are.
Well, and
Yeah.
also when it's framed properly, it gives you rest, right?
Yeah.
But when it's framed improperly, it spins you out in a cycle of productivity. So it's
Very
like, isn't
much.
that very subtle how you could be shifted one way, the pendulum swings one way or the other? I mean,
Yes, they teach
oh,
it to you like Martha, but you're really supposed
yeah,
to live it like Mary,
that's
you
right.
know? I mean, very,
Yeah.
very much.
I love that. Martha and
Mhm.
Mary. Good old Martha. She was getting it
Martha.
done.
I feel for Martha. We read that story to the boys, or I read it to the boys this morning, and I said, "Who does that sound like, guys?" And they were like, "You, mommy," because my parents came to our house yesterday, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm sorry for how the house looks. Oh my gosh, we've been under an ice storm. There's stuff everywhere." I fall into Martha and the doing and the
Mhm.
worrying, and I have to remember to drop back into that state of Mary, that being. that
Yeah.
stillness. Yeah.
Yeah. Totally resonates with me. I would be pretty irritated with Mary. I'm in there busting my butt in the kitchen. I'm working. She's in there just, I would be the same way. I'd be like, aren't you going to make her help me? Yeah.
Yeah.
What I love about that story is that Martha had the, like, I was gonna say something. Martha had, like excuse me.
Just say it.
Like, Martha had the balls to look at Jesus and say, "Tell Mary to get up and help me." Actually said that to Jesus. That part cracked me up today.
I might
And
have said that to Jesus before. I think I probably have. Haven't you ever just been in turmoil and you're like, Jesus, help me? Yeah.
Oh, all the time.
Yeah.
That cracked me up.
That's funny.
But
Well,
yes.
well, I guess we've said all we can say about silence. We've said a lot of words.
We've said a lot of
To
words
talk
for an
about
episode on
silence. Yeah.
So
Just a reminder that the Burrow gathering will meet the first Sunday of each month at 6 p.m. Central. So this is a live gathering that's not recorded. It allows us to connect on a deeper level. It's a safe space where you can speak freely, raise questions, and engage in important discussions. Joining our Patreon gets you access to the live gatherings plus entry into the private Facebook group. If you want to jump in, we'd love to have you. The link will be in the show notes below. And if you want to help support the show, please subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and leave us a review. If this episode resonated with you, share it with your friends. We truly appreciate our listeners. Your continued support means everything. And thank you for joining us for this episode of Transcending the Rabbit Hole. As always, cosmic blessings and peace.
You down with all the lies that he's told? Does the gloom and doom of nightly news haunt your dreams? So you scroll instead of sleep, 'cause distraction is key. But as long as there is still a sun up in the sky, I can choose to live on the sunny side. It's somewhere between burying my head in the sand and falling down the rabbit hole again. To the system, now there's power to reclaim. But as long as there's a heart beating in my chest, I will cling to hope that's true. I will